Hello Year 12 and Year 13 and welcome to a little introductory revision video. I wanted to highlight a couple of areas on the student shared area of our dashboard. I'm in the student shared zone, as you can see, and I'm just going to go to the Year 12 folder and you'll notice a revision 2017 folder. If I go back up to Year 13, the same folder does exist in the Year 13 area, but I'm going to go to the Year 12 area this time and actually click in. And what I'd like to highlight in this particular video is the student proforma and the proforma and zones documents here. So the student proforma. The student proforma is a really useful tool that looks like this, and it aims to help students drill down and get a lot more focused in their revision. Most students at this sort of time of year, sort of March time, have got a good idea of the subject that they will be studying day in, day out. But do they really know the different aspects of the spec that they'll be studying within that subject? Probably not. In fact, only the best students really would have that sort of level of knowledge at this point. Of course, this proforma aims to help you capture what exactly you should be doing. So the diagnosis phase is first, and this is where you're basically selecting up to 5, no more than 5 of course, or else you'll cloud your mind and not be able to focus as much. But no more than 5 areas that you feel you are least secure in. So it might be worth having another look at the specification for your subject area and actually picking out the areas that you simply realise in yourself, or maybe your teacher could inform you as they realise you're perhaps not that secure in those areas. Everyone will have those insecure areas, and it's up to you to diagnose what they are. Once you've diagnosed what they are, you can be then quite specific in how you're going to address that insecurity. So, what exactly will you be doing? And be as exact as you can. The more detail here, the more concise nature of what you write here, the easier it is for you to follow that plan. And there will be days where you simply don't feel like revising. So you don't want to help. You don't want to sort of give yourself stuff to think about. You just want to follow something and get it done. Well, here we can see there's quite a large box there where you can print this off and write in there the sort of where you'll be revising, who you'll be with, by when you'll be getting it done, and actually what you'll be doing. And that therapy section aims to help you address the insecurities in your knowledge. The final part of the cycle here is then to test it, and actually just to test yourself and recognize whether you have or have not gained security in those aspects. So that is the blank proforma that you can print off as many times as you like for different subjects. You can go through this diagnosis therapy testing phase many times as well. It's totally up to you. If I then go to the proformas and zones document and open that up, I'm just going to go to the top, we can actually see a couple of examples that what one of the presenters had given us at a recent conference. And this first one is actually really well filled out, because it's a student got S. Cook. You can see that although the format looks slightly different, it does exactly the same thing. We've only got 3 areas there that they've diagnosed, and that clearly is going to be much more simple for anyone to sort of not feel dwarfed by it, and not feel that it's too much of a burden, but keeps you nice and clear and focused on what exactly you're supposed to be doing, without sort of feeling that you're going to be miles behind, or you've got loads to do, or whatever else that could lead to you getting stressed out. So here we've got 3 areas that they wanted to pick up on. The therapy as well is actually also quite in depth here. You can see there 3 hours of study time. You can see when they're going to study. You can see that they're going to present evidence to an individual called KAL. I believe that's probably a teacher. And then have an exam question that's relevant to the diagnosed insecurities, and then complete a plan for that question, which will then be given to KAL again for feedback and so on. It's a very, very clear plan. And because it involves someone else, you feel more compelled to do it, because you don't want to let someone else down or leave them waiting or waste their time. So it is quite a good idea to actually do this with somebody else, and it's much more likely that you'll complete it. The final phase there is testing. You can see they've got 3 ways they're going to test that they will know more about these 3 areas that they've diagnosed to be weak. You can see evidence of revision, exam plans and completed questions there. handed back again to KAL. And that is a mini cycle. You diagnose what's wrong, you suggest what you're going to do about it, the therapy, and then you test to see whether you can now do it. That cycle, that microcycle, will carry on many times throughout your revision. I'm going to show you another one here, and this one isn't so good for two reasons. Number one, they've got way too much to do. They've simply listed lots and lots of different insecure elements, and that's going to feel quite burdensome and overwhelming. So not a good idea to do that many. Secondly, the therapy is very vague, and with all the best will in the world, not many people can follow a plan that's that vague. There's nothing really measurable about it at all. There's no time scans to it. It doesn't involve anyone else. So it's a good idea to revisit the first one. To see exactly S. Cook's Proforma, to see exactly how it's done to the very best of one's ability. The next thing I wanted to show you, outside of that Proforma, was this idea. And this idea was presented to us by a chap who'd done a lot of research about how students revise, and he'd come out with this really simple matrix. He argued that most students sort of are in zone 4, as in they're sort of not really thinking about assessment objectives. So that's the AO up here is assessment objectives. Assessment objectives are those exam skills, sort of understanding, application, analysis, and evaluation. But he argued that most people start down here in zone 4. They're not very secure in their knowledge. And that's fine, but what he argued next is what happened next was actually the wrong move. A lot of students simply practice knowledge, lots of mind mapping, flashcards, glossaries, key terms. In economics it would be diagrams, just simple knowledge and concepts. And therefore they get better and better, and as they move from zone 4 they follow the arrow across, and as their knowledge improves they end up in zone 2. But that is not where you want to be. You want to be in zone 1, of course, okay, the green zone. And what zone 1 indicates is that not only have you improved your knowledge, but you've also improved your ability to apply the assessment objectives. And it's very rare that students actually practice the assessment objectives. They constantly practice the content and not the objectives. And to see a potential impact of that imbalance, I'm going to take you to a specification for economics, and this could easily be any specification of any A-level course. So if I go over here, up here you can see this is the specification for economics, and here's the assessment objectives, and this will be in almost every specification of any course that we actually offer here at Hayes. And you can see there the 4 AOs, AO 1, 2, 3, 4. AO 1 is about demonstrating knowledge. Well, that's fine. Lots of students do that, practicing terms, practicing concepts and theories. AO 2 is about applying knowledge, looking at different contexts, getting some form of data in front of you. It might be an article, it might be a think piece, and be able to respond to it and knowing which knowledge and concepts I need to apply to that context. AO3 is about analysing, essentially creating a chain of reasoning, a logical chain of reasoning. And AO4 is about evaluating arguments, being able to summarise arguments, being able to suggest perhaps the flaws in arguments and suggest what they might depend upon. But also there's a matter here in this particular spec of being able to use different evidence to support arguments and crucially making judgments. So they're the assessment objectives that the previous chap argued we simply didn't spend enough time looking at those 4. We just revised too much knowledge. If I then take you back to the spec, you can see down here, this is the A-level economics weightings, and what this shows you is that AO1, which is essentially your knowledge, there are only about 23%, approximately 23% max. Of the marks are for knowledge. So why would you revise heavily for just 23% of the marks? It makes a lot more sense if you look at the other exam skills, as a quarter of the marks are for evaluation, and nearly 30% of the marks are for application and analysis apiece. So it really stands out and actually suggests we should be spending more time on the exam skills if that was where the marks are. If I show you a mark scheme, again, this is a very it's a generic mark scheme for a 25-mark question in economics. This could be any mark scheme for any course, of course, and you will have your own. But to get in the top band, 21 to 25 marks here, you can see there's 4 bullet points that students have to sort of meet, and the examiner will use a best fit approach when they actually look at those 4 particular factors. The first bullet point says that the response needs to be organised. Well, that's fine. Most people have a writing frame or a template. And sound knowledge, well, that's good because we always revise our knowledge and our key terms. Lots of terminology, concepts, and few errors. Well, that's fine. But the remaining 3 bullet points look at the other objectives here. Good application of principles to the given context. So many times a student will just tell us what they know without actually thinking, but is that relevant to the question? And of course here it's marking data as well. And are you actually plucking things from the case study and using them in your chain of argument, in your chain of reasoning? The bullet point 3 is for analysis and that ability to create logical chains of reasoning, again, that suit the question. And the final bullet point here is about evaluating throughout the response, so not just at the end when you need to drop in a judgment, but being able to evaluate throughout the response. And the simple matter of knowing that you could evaluate throughout could make the difference to many students in this particular subject. I would strongly encourage you to look at the specification, to look at the assessment objectives. I can almost guarantee the weightings will be very similar to these ones here, particularly in other essay-based subjects. But then also on the mark scheme, have a look at what is required to get those top marks. And if you know in yourself that you are really just practicing knowledge, well, you've got to ask yourself, how are you going to convince the examiner that you can do these 3 things too? So that's really what I wanted to show you in this video here, is the importance of having clear targeted revision, as on this Proforma, enabling you to really go to great lengths as to what's most important for you to revise. But secondly, knowing the importance of moving zones and how it's not just about practicing content and getting the marks. Best of luck with your revision, folks. Thank you.